Hello, everybody, and welcome to Workshop Wednesdays with the Mentor Me Collective. Tonight, I'm your host, Dom, and we have someone fabulous that we want y'all all to come and check out. We apologize that, this session was supposed to happen last week. We had some technical difficulties, but thankfully, our lovely guest decided to be so kind and reschedule with us. And I know you'll all be excited to see her. If you've ever been interested in tech sales, look no further. This woman is a titan in the industry. She knows how to navigate through various evolving tech sales landscapes. She's done so many different things. She even owns her own company. And so what we wanted to do is we really want to take time to highlight her and really celebrate the knowledge that she's supposed to drop on y'all. So I would love for all y'all to make some noise for Miss Kaivona Parker.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you. Excited we were able to make it work tonight.
Oh, we love it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're tuning in from, a little bit about yourself before we get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so like you, I'm in New York, originally from Jamaica, West Indies, but in New York right now. Been in sales for 15 years and really looking to pay it forward. And I didn't have anyone really to mentor me, to guide me as I was navigating through my tech landscape. And quite frankly, I'm a little bit annoyed at all of the online coaches that's talking about how there's only one way to get into tech and there's this and that. And it's really disheartening for folks that come and talk to me that's just like, I don't know how to get in. Everyone's saying it's so hard. And it's really not. It's not any harder than anything else. It's just a matter of speaking the language and understanding what's available to you. So really excited. Ain't no gatekeeping happening here. So we're going to drop all the gems tonight.
Well, you heard it here first. A New Yorker and Jamaican at heart. I'm from Trinidad, so big ups to the island,
There we
But for
go.
now, y'all didn't come to hear me. Y'all came to hear y'all. So I'm taking myself off stage and I'm letting her take away the show.
Amazing. So I don't know who's all in the room. If we got chat capability in here, I would love for y'all to put in the chat. Hi, Ada. I see. Okay, great. Let me know. Okay, you're in NYC. Great. Let me know where y'all are tuning in from. Love to see it. I jam-packed this session, all right? So we got like 40 minutes to go over some content, and then I want to leave room for you to ask questions. I want to make sure that when you leave here, you feel really empowered and equipped with the tools to start your tech sales career. So, all right, Zen, let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna go over the landscape. Landscape to me is the common roles that folks are looking at right now. The transferable skills, which is what are you doing right now in your everyday that you don't even know. Hey, good to see you. We've been trying to connect for the longest. um, what are you doing right now that you don't even realize transfers into tech sales? And then we're going to talk about how to story tell that. One of the keys to getting into tech sales is not just what your resume looks like, but also how you talk about where you've been and translate that into where you're going to go with that company. This is the key here. I have a trademark, just put my little TM there. I have a trademark um, concept called strategic rapport that I'm going to give to you guys so you to use to be able to have conversations and really let this thing fly so you can land your next role. So great. The objective, understanding where you fit in the sales world and how to story tell those skills to get there. Please be respectful of everyone in the comments and in the questions, and then we're going to go quickly here. So I think this is a recording. This will be playback live, so you guys will have access to look at this again. So if you have questions, I recommend just put it in the chat right away, and I'll definitely answer it as it comes up. And if I don't get to it, then we'll answer it in the Q&A. If we ready, type ready. Let's go, let's go, let's go. A little bit about me. My name is pronounced Kaivona. That's my beautiful daughter, Alea. If y'all were in New York City, you would have seen her. She's my little helper at all my workshops. I'm currently away right now. So she's not available to be with me, but she's at home ready too. 15 years in tech sales. I've grown multiple teams, whether it's at Yelp, at Nestle, Granger, and in across the world, actually working with reps and coaching reps and getting them hired. I don't claim to be a recruiter. I don't claim to be a get you hired specialist. That's not my tea. My goal is to make sure that if you're looking into getting into tech, you just have the language and the storytelling ability to land that role. I've translated into multiple different industries, whether it was food and beverage, industrial supply, ad tech, health tech, fintech. And this goes to show you that it's not really a matter of which industry or category or subcategory you start at. It's just a matter of speaking the language of where you want to go. You're going to hear me say that a lot, a lot. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. All right. So before we dive in, I want you to think about your everyday life, right? What's one skill that you use right now that doesn't feel like sales, but you're like, maybe this could be a sales skill. I'm not sure yet. So let's put it in the chat. Put it in the chat and write out what's one skill that you use right now that isn't like technically sales, but might be. Hey, what's up, Trini? Yes, Trini fam in the building. I love it. So some examples of that could be, I was in a group chat with my daughter, some moms from my daughter's school, and some of them had a texting war, and I was able to read in between the lines, right? Active listening, hear what they weren't saying to help them understand each other and help us at the park the other day. So that's like, is that really a selling skill? No, but you definitely need active listening to be able to have a conversation in sales, right? For being me, a people person. Tell me what that means. I hope I'm saying your name right, Ada. What does it mean to be a people person? Maybe you're the negotiator in your friend group, or the person who always gets upgrades when you travel, or maybe you're the person at dinner who gets the food back and gets taken off the bill, right? Maybe you're that person. The planner, I love that. Yeah. So start to think about some of the things that you do in your everyday life, or maybe you've done in your current role or past role, or if you're in school, understanding people. And we're going on to that and bring that with us, okay? Yes, talk to people and connect with them. Great, great, great. All right, so hold on to that, all right? While you hold on to that, let's talk roles, okay? I wanted you guys to have access to the most popular roles right now. If you're thinking that there's no availability in these roles right now, you're wrong, okay? I just had a client who got hired as an account executive like last week. So people are hiring SDR, BDRs, they are hiring these roles. The sales world isn't one size fits all, okay? So there is SDR and BDRs. This is listed in the order of first to client. So typically speaking, your SDR would be the first point of contact to a prospect, and then it'll move down the line here. So this is not in the order of entry level. This is in the order of who talks to the prospect first. That would be the SDR and the BDR. From there, you have the account executive. So the SDR will bring that prospect to the account executive to close, and the AM will build that client up. We'll talk about upselling, we're talking about growing the account, negotiating new contracts, and then that CSM also helps to build relationships and grow accounts. So based on your personality or your strengths, which one in the chat sounds most like you? Now, don't answer that question with which one you think you want to do because somebody told you you should do it. Based off of what you see here and maybe what you have done in your past, you think might translate, which role sounds like it's most aligned with you right now? And again, you don't need to come from a sales background to be successful in it. Chances are you're already using some sort of sales adjacent skill in your everyday life. So if you have this, you can start to write down some of the things that you're looking forward to. And I'll even go to the next one and look at some managerial ones as well. So from a different level, this is manager. So if you've had 15 years as a manager in I don't know, maybe you're a teacher or you're a principal, or you're in a completely different industry, you can look at these roles and we can help you translate them as well. Customer success, great. I'll go back so you guys can see this again. Another caveat to this slide is that some of these roles all of these roles are quota carrying, right? So you're going to have a quota, and then you're going to have a commission on top of that. So you say you hit 100% of your quota, maybe you'll get a commission that's, X on top of that. You want to make sure that you understand what's the base salary and then what's the commission on top of that. These, as far as salary and base are concerned, this can range. We're talking, some of them can be as low as 50K. Some of them could be as high as 150K. It really just depends on how much of your experience right now we can translate into these roles. I had a client that I was working with that worked at Verizon, like physical location, for 8 years. And we were able to get 6 of years as what we look as retail, Verizon retail, as 6 years of sales experience, which ended up being going from having a 75K salaried role to a 100K salary role. So that's sort of some of the things that I'm talking about. I had another client who worked at rent-a-car, right? So like working at a rent-a-car place, you would think, oh man, I'm just, at rent-a-car. But what are some skills that you're using at rent-a-car? We're able to bring out 4 years of sales experience working at rent-a-car to help transfer over into sales. So that's sort of some of the concepts and ideas that we're talking about here. We all good? Talking too fast? We got it? You with me? We here? We riding together? We good? All right. So the transferable skills here, right? So when you think about each one of those roles, you're going to think about some of the things that you encompass right now that you would bring to this role. So if you're an SDR, you have got to be resilient. An SDR makes anywhere from 90 to 100 cold calls a day, right? They are calling nonstop. They're getting rejected nonstop, right? You have got to be resilient. You have got to actively listen to what prospects are saying to you. You have to be collaborative because you're going to be working with an account executive or other peers to get things across the line. You have to have an open mindset. Like maybe you had a vision and a view of how you were going to pursue an account that just didn't work the way that you thought it was going to, you got to switch it up, right? So SDRs are heavy outbound cold calling. Rejection has to like roll off your back. Like you can't really sweat the small stuff when it comes to being an SDR. An account executive, some of the questions that you would have to ask an account executive is what percentage of this role is outbound cold calling, and then what percentage of this role is just closing. So sometimes that's a 70-30 mix, sometimes it's 50, but all account executives do have some level of cold calling unless it's an inbound account executive role. Inbound, and thank you for the questions, and I hope I say your name right. I'll come to you in 2 seconds. Um, Inbound means that you are responding to prospects that have reached out to that company. So maybe they have a link on the website that says, contact us for more information and it schedules with an account executive, or click this form for, to talk with a salesperson. That's an inbound lead. So that's an inbound account executive. And then there's also outbound as well. So again, you have to have critical thinking, you're going to have analytical reasoning, you're going to be looking at dashboards and charts, you have to manage your time, what deal is closest to closing versus where do I spend my time, just like having conversations to move the ball further down the pipeline. And account executives are closing. That account management will take that handoff. Each one is just handing off to the next. And that account management is going to make sure that these clients stay. Not only do they stay, how active are they using this product? How can I get them to use more, increase their usage? Maybe there's more products and services or something in your suite that you can add on to that. How can I think critically and align new products to what they've already purchased? And then CSM is very close. So customer success can be a little bit of both here, where it's like you're going to have strong communication. You're going to have to solve problems. There's going to be a lot of rejection with CSMs as well. Now their customers, man, you're going to try and keep them. They're going to have all the complaints in the world. Think about if Verizon isn't working anymore and you're calling customer service. We know how customer service lines go. They get the brunt of all of the negativity. So you're going to have to provide and accept feedback. Question here. I'm currently part of the data analytic learning track. What platforms, tools do you use database in tech sales or sales roles in general? That we might have to talk offline. That's a broad question, and I have a lot of tools that I use, really just depending on what data I'm looking at, what's my end goal. So if you see me on LinkedIn, and at the end of this, I actually have I'm giving away some free time for you all to book time on my calendar for next week. First come, first serve. I don't know how much availability is left, but I can talk more about you with that. But it really just depends. There's AI tools there, so I don't want to get into the weeds a little bit, but there's a lot that we could talk about there. So thank you for the question, and then just message me so I can get back to you directly. Okay, great. So jot down some of these that you think you're really great at. Type down some that you're not too strong at, and then we're going to talk about some examples that can help support these, these transferable skills that you think you already have now, and then position them for you in your role. What is one hardship you might encounter when switching from your current field to a tech sales position? Really just depends on what your exposure is to the environment right now. So I always say what folks typically come to me with is, I don't know finance, so I can't be in fintech, or I don't know about healthcare, so I can't be in health tech. And my response to that is always, it is the company's job to train you on their technology. So if they're a fintech company, they're supposed to have allocated training for you to understand what that technology is. If I worked at Yelp, I didn't know anything about advertising when I worked at Yelp. But Yelp taught me what Yelp does to sell advertising. Google does the same thing. OpenAI, like in the job description, they will either require you to have X amount of experience in that industry, or they'll say none required. They won't mention it, and they'll training you on it. So you'll know from that job description how much experience you need to have before you apply. So one hardship might just be like, how long does it take you to understand new concepts? How long does it take you to apply concept? How agile are you in terms of flexibility and learning and doing? You understand your learning style at that point. So that might be one hardship. All right, so for all our managerial folks there, these are some of the transferable skills for you in that role. Obviously, if you're going to be a sales manager, you're going to have to be able to resolve conflicts, right? And you're also going to have to have strong time management. I am a sales enablement manager. I'm a sales enablement leader. Sales enablement is the trainer. I would be the ones in that would be or Marisol, I would be the one that would be training you on how to do your job, execute well, close deals, or whatever your role is, understand the tech. That's my role. So understanding how to build teams, understanding how to activate you and get you to perform by understanding more about your background and where you come from and how what success looks like to you. That's sales enablement. And then sales engineer and sales operations. Sales engineer and sales operations on a managerial level, I'll just say off the bat, you're going to have time in seat. As a matter of fact, as these 4 roles, my recommendation is that you have time in seat in order to train it. I'm very much so someone that I can talk to it because I've done it. I can train it because I've done it. I was an SDR. I was an account executive. I sold straight out of trucks. I sold in person before we had COVID. I sold on the phone. I sold every which way to Sunday. So these roles I can train to because I've done it years and years over. And you have a lot of respect. You gain a lot of respect in these roles when you have had some time actually executing in that field. So if you have managerial experience, then we would look to tailor like, hey, you know what, I actually would recommend you starting here. You can speak to it from a different lens, although in some cases you don't have to have direct experience to hold it. All right, so we're going to go into storytelling. So do you remember that one in the beginning I told you write down one skill that you didn't know if it was skills, but it might be? I want you to pull that out again, right? And we're going to talk about how your story is essentially your strategy into getting into sales. So in sales, people connect to stories more than they do to statistics. The statistics matter, but more often than not, they'll remember the feeling that the statistic gave them over the statistic itself. Okay? So we're going to talk numbers and all that stuff as well, but I want you to think about what was one of those transferable skills that you wrote down. Tell me the story around it. How did you execute on that? For example, like I said before, I had to de-escalate a parent conflict at my daughter's school, so I had to use my active listening skills to hear what was not being said. That helped me handle objections on sales calls. That could be what is in the chat? I think I'm a planner, right? So you can say that I'm the one that plans all of my family outings. I have a big family of 125 people. Here's a stat. I was able to plan a trip to Jamaica in 2 weeks that included 8 excursions, this and that, right? So I'm talking about how myself as a planner actually can show up in a sales role. Okay? So think about that story. Think about that story. You guys have a story? You guys with me? Do you have a story in your mind of how you can frame that one piece? Type yes if yes, type no if you're struggling. Tell me where we're at. I want to hear what everyone's stories are. And then I'm going to give you the framework to make this story stick. All right. So for the sake of time, we're going to move. If you have it, drop it in the chat and we can talk about it, or I can coach you on that story and how we could really zhuzh it up to make it into tech sales. All right. So we're going to turn your skill into a compelling story. This is going to resonate whether you're having an interview, whether you're pitching your own business, whether you're going to networking events and really want to talk about how you can be memorable in those spaces. And then it'll also give you the opportunity to extend the life of your conversation. Whenever I say this, people are like, why, Kaivona? Why does it matter that I need to extend the life of my conversation? Well, these are some stats for you. If you have a conversation that is under 2 minutes, the likelihood of the outcome that you want to happen, 30%. So let's talk about dating for a second. If you want to get someone's phone number and you don't engage them over 2 minutes, you're not getting a digit. It's not going to happen. Okay. If we're talking to that person from 2.5 to 4 minutes, you got that one shot on the train for all my New Yorkers. You got one train stop. Okay, you improved your odds a bit. Now you just might get that number. And of course, if you have an engaging conversation over 5 minutes, you greatly improve the chances of you having a positive outcome. So the goal here is to keep your outcome in mind. What is the outcome? Is the outcome that you want 5 more minutes of their time? Is the outcome that you want their email? Is the outcome that you want a referral? Whatever that outcome is, we're going to drive these stories to increase the amount of time that you guys are having a conversation together, which will also increase the amount of time that you the opportunity of you getting a positive outcome. Who has seen this stat before? Is this your first time seeing this stat, or who has seen this before? I'm always curious if people are aware of just how language and conversations actually help, even outside of sales, but in your everyday lifestyle. These are the type of things that we should be thinking about, especially when we're talking about networking. First time. All right. Yeah. You're probably never going to forget it, right? Every conversation with someone, you're going to be like, oh, how long have we been talking? So hold this and keep it with you. Okay? All right. So here you go. This is the framework. Very simple, but extremely powerful. Rapport, value, and command. And we're going to talk about each one of these a little bit and how this actually helps to keep your conversation going. One of the most common, you swing the pendulum here is rapport, right? So in one case, we talk about rapport and we're talking about the weather. We're talking about how sunny it is outside or how rainy it is outside. It's extremely boring and you're not going to be remembered by talking about the rain, right? It doesn't work that way. So we're going to talk about how to have strategic rapport. On the other end, on the other side of the pendulum, people dive so quickly into their ask and what they're looking for because they don't know how to be personable, or maybe they don't want to come off not genuine, so they're just going to go straight for what they're asking for without giving a little bit of opportunity for rapport, and that doesn't work either. We have to find a sweet spot about rapport. I'm going to talk to you about that. Then we're going to talk about what value is. Who can tell me what value means? Who can give me a quick one-liner? Don't overthink it. What does value mean? What is it? In the context of maybe selling or networking or building, what is value? What is value? And while you write that in the chat, once we have our value, then we're going to make sure that we have a command at the end. I was strategic in using the word command and not an ask because I want to make sure that the thing that you want, you are instructing them to do. So we're not going to say, can I have your phone number? We're going to say, here's my phone. Put your number in my phone. Or here's my phone. What's your number? Here's my phone. You're giving them something to do while you're asking. If you're like, oh, look at my calendar. I'm taking a look at my calendar. Take a look at your calendar. How does Tuesday look at 3 p.m.? Right? So you're giving them a command, something to do, while still asking them to do something at the same time. As opposed to, hey, can we meet next week? Or I would love to grab time. I would love to grab time is so taboo right now. It's like, hey, here's my Calendly. Can I send this to you so we can book time on a Wednesday at 2? Or would you prefer to use my calendar? I'm happy to book through yours. Do you hear how that's different than just, I would love to do this. I would love to see you again. I would love to meet you. All these, I would love to. Nobody cares what you would love to do. We want to drive some confident action here. Okay? So value is the foundation for more. Value is the importance of something. Value is something that benefits. Value is something that is important to you. Value is something that is important to you. If I am the seller here, or if I am the one that is going to want something at the end of the conversation, value, what I care about, doesn't matter. What I want doesn't matter. What you want matters. Because at the end of the day, you have to want enough to do the thing that I am at the end commanding and asking you to do. Does that make sense, everybody? You guys see how that can shift our mindset about, like, instead of driving home what we want out of the conversation, we want to make the conversation about what we know would be important to them, and therefore causing them to want to do that action that we have at the end. Okay? So let's make this all make sense. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Let me know. I got 10 minutes before we open up Q&A for sure. So let me know if y'all still with me. You with me? We here. We rocking out together. I wish we could do a little thumbs up in the chat. I'm like, give me a thumbs up if you guys are with me. All right. We're here. Awesome. Okay. So the key to executing this strategic rapport successfully is really your confidence, your tone, and your pace. Now, everyone always says, like, oh, just be confident. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, even if you're talking about in real life, how your posture looks, how you're walking. Are you slouching? Are you in your phone? Do you come up to someone with a strong extended hand? I'm not just talking about this like, oh, go ahead and be confident, be chipper. No, it's like, how am I even presenting myself? Do I have a strong voice right now, or am I being really timid? Do they have to ask to hear me again because I'm whispering? How am I approaching this conversation? Again, we don't want to come off like, we're not genuine, but we do have to ensure that we are presenting ourselves in the best way to get the thing that we know that we're coming into this with. Okay? All right. So here's some strategic rapport lines. The concept of the strategic rapport, where we have rapport, value, and command. This strategic rapport is 1 personal fact and 2 business facts. So I use some basic ones here that don't get too deep here. But people either drink coffee or tea for the most part, right? So instead of talking about the weather, if you're at the, I don't know, coffee stand, or you are at the refreshment table and you see someone pouring something, hey, you a coffee drinker or you a tea drinker? I didn't have my coffee this morning, and I'm losing my mind, right? I typically I'm a jokester. I like to be funny. I don't know if I am funny, but I have some pretty good success rates from this. So I like to get a little giggle out of people. And I do that by embarrassing myself. I do that by putting the pun on me. When I was working in Flatiron, there's this huge elevator. If everyone knows where like that Flatiron district is, there's this huge elevator to go down the stairs. And I would always say that I tripped down the elevator just to get people to like laugh, to show that I'm a human, to show that like I'm just like you, like we're having a regular conversation here. If you're virtual, I like to, bring like childhood memories or childlike moments into it, just to get someone to loosen up and feel comfortable. So even if nothing is playing in the background, I might say something like, hey, if you hear Mickey Mouse playing in the background, that's my daughter. She's home from school. It's summertime. When's the last time you watched a kid's show, right? Something that can really take them out of what you're about to do or where you're at right now and transport them to a fun moment. Everyone enjoys being a kid, or most people do. And Mickey Mouse is like what? Disney. We think of Disney. Swap out whatever you like. But this kind of removes them from the tight up, like, really maybe serious environment that you might have started the conversation in, and bring them to a place of like joy or happiness. So whatever that might look like to you, that's your strategic entry point, right? Everyone, dogs are a huge thing. Pets are a huge thing. I don't have any pets. And I'll still say, man, I apologize if you hear my dog snore. He wouldn't leave my office. So do you have any pets, right? So when you hear these questions, you're probably thinking about if you have a pet, if you don't have a pet, when's the last time you watched a kid's show or not, right? So these are the reasons why we call it strategic, because they're casual questions, but they're positioning you and that person in a way to, 1, lower down your guard a little bit, not be so apprehensive of this new stranger that's coming to you, whether it's virtually or in person, and then align you to then take that and ask valuable information to get their business or to get more information about themselves. One thing that everyone loves to talk about is what? There's a phrase everyone says, right? Everyone loves to talk about insert, what is it? Everyone loves to talk about themselves, right? You love to talk about yourself because you know yourself the most. Nobody knows you more than you know you. So if we can get that person to talk about themselves, then they're going to likely be more able to or be more open to listening to what you have to say. Then we're talking about business facts. So let's say you're at a conference and let's say you frequent these conferences. Maybe it's your third year. You can say, hey, I've never seen you at this conference before. Is this your first time? Or how long have you been coming to the conference? Right? So now you've gotten your coffee or tea personal fact out the way. Now you're understanding whether or not they've been here before. Who knows? Just because you haven't seen them doesn't mean they're not someone that you should know. They might say, yeah, I work behind the scenes. I've been working here for 5 years, but never was able to catch a flight. Now, in your context, you can say, yeah, great. Would love to talk to you about that command line, whatever it is, right? Some other things that you can ask are you new to the industry? So a lot of folks here are transitioning from one environment to another, whether you're graduating and getting into tech, or you're moving from, being a teacher to going into tech sales, or whatever that might be, marketing. You can ask, hey, how long have you been in the industry? Great. Then you can share something about yourself. But again, all of these questions are strategic. They're not super business related, but you can use this information to understand how this person can help you, or if they can help you with whatever it is that you're looking for at the end. Is this all translating with you all? Does this all feel like something that we can do? I know some folks say, I'm an introvert, I can't do this. I've worked with a lot of introverts, and one of the most common denominators when I have conversation with introverts is their preparedness for a conversation. It's not that they are unwilling to have a conversation. The two things that scare them is, one, the outcome, fear of the outcome, and then two, fear of not knowing how, not knowing if the variables that exist, how they would approach each variable. So this framework allows it to be less pressure and more human. We're good. I see yes in the chat. Amazing. Great. So if I see all of you guys in the chat and I see you in person, or y'all come into one of our sessions with me and y'all start asking me about the weather, I'll be like, no, sir, no, ma'am. Y'all know not to hit me with no weather lines. Y'all, you better come correct. All right. So I hope y'all are ready for that. Okay. So, I don't know if y'all hear that. I forgot this was an animated video. That was one of the deals. I had to prove that this concept works. And I use this video to show, like, yeah, I started to implement this during my time and close the deal. So we're going to go through this whole triangle, and we're going to add in what I like to call an assumptive intro. An assumptive intro, better in person, but assumptive intro is when you name drop with confidence. So what is the opposite of an assumptive intro? An assumptive intro might be, hi, what's your name? That's pretty basic. Nothing's wrong with it, but we're talking about memorable opportunities here. But if I say, I'm Kaivona, Jeff, or, if you have a name tag, Kaivona, Jeff, nice to meet you, right? Or if they have a banner on their page, like you see my name is Kaivona on the bottom of the screen, we're just going to go in and lead in with that name. We're not going to be asking or be really trepidatious. We're going to go in really confident. So in any situation or a name tag situation, you'll say, hey, Ada, Kaivona here. How's it going? Right? I'm just going right in, really confident, really assumptive. If there's no name tag, hey, I'm Kaivona. Your name is, right? You're waiting for that. It's a lot smoother of a transition to introduce yourself and assumptively require them to respond than it is to be like, hey, what's your name? my name is so-and-so, right? Just give it up first. Give and get. Give up your name first to invite them to reply. Once you name drop with confidence, then we're going to go into that strategic rapport line. So that could sound like, hey, Sergio, Kaivona here. So nice to see you. What's going on? Whatever, casual, highs. Great. Is this your first time being at a Mentor Me Collective event? Great, man. Wow. Well, I'm excited to see you. Are you going to the next one, or are you going to the one next week or the one next month? Awesome. I would love to see you there. I spilled my tea on the way here, so I'm a little bit out of it right now. Are you here? I know it just lost. Okay, cool. Are you a coffee drinker or are you a tea drinker? Oh man, amazing. So listen, next time I'll make sure to talk to you about the new tea line that just dropped or whatever. Yeah, have you been to Starbucks? They have this new seasonal menu item or whatever the case may be. Great. Well, Sergio, I know it's your first time here. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn. You want to scan the QR code? That's a command, right? That is a command that is not just saying, I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. It is excited to see you again. Here's my QR code or here's my LinkedIn. Let's connect, right? It's more assumptive. It's more commanding, but when you hear the command, I don't want you to think I'm like, punching someone in the face to do the thing, but I'm giving them an action to take so that they're more able to move through this action. We're good. Any questions here? Are we good? There's typically a game that we play here, but I understand this is a one-way situation. So we're at exactly 40 minutes. So great. We wrapped up just in time. Gonna open up the floor for questions. In the meantime, would love it if you guys could give feedback on the session here. And while you guys are giving the feedback, you can in the chat and ask any questions that you guys have, and I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Well, I'll jump on stage for a quick second with you, but just to let you know, first of all, great session. I especially love the flat iron. Just being a New Yorker, anytime someone mentions New York, we love that. We love that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then, as people are typing in the chat, and please, everyone, ask questions. Like you have somebody who has 15 plus years of experience, ask her any and everything because you never know where that might lead. But to start it off, so one of my boys, one of my friends, he wants to get into sales, but his always excuse is I can't be a salesman. And I always say, well, why can't you be a salesman? He said because if someone tells me they're not going to buy something, I'm just going to be like, oh, okay, move on to the next. I don't know how to drive sales. And I'm like, sometimes again, as I've read before, like sometimes the first answer is always a no, but you have to find tactical ways to get around. So what are some tactical ways people can get around that first no that they get? Because very rare would you get a first like a yes on the first time that you're trying to sell something.
Yeah. So I love that question. And thanks, Dom. A lot of the times, we're never really in that exact position. It's a very cliche position, but I'm big on psychology of selling. So I don't really position myself to get a no to the direct answer. I usually position myself to either inquire more or to just have another conversation another time. So what that sounds like is I'm not going to say, so do you want to buy? Or I'm not going to say, like, or do you want to move forward? I'm going to use the value that they are going to have to tell me that this is either not valuable to them or it is valuable to them. And if it is valuable to them, then we obviously are going to present an opportunity to take the step forward. And if it isn't valuable to them, then I'm going to be genuinely curious about what is value so that I can align and position myself to bring value to them. And that's the key that is missing to like relationship centric selling and being genuinely curious is I'm not trying to focus on selling this thing. I'm trying to focus on what is valuable to them and how can I align what I'm bringing to be valuable. And if it isn't, no harm, no foul. Like we can move on.
Yeah, and I think that's the most difficult thing. The average person doesn't like rejection, right? Like we can be honest about that. So I think that scares a lot of people. But as we wait for more questions to come up, like you've done all these different roles, so I guess like can you take us through like what was the most difficult thing as being like a sales development rep before you transition to like being an account executive?
Yeah. Um, Actually, SDRs, being an SDR wasn't that challenging for me. I actually enjoyed being an SDR. It's I want to use the term loosely. There's a little bit less pressure, right? Because I have to get them interested. I don't necessarily have to get them to say like yes and put their credit card in, right? So I have to get them interested enough to show up to a call with an account executive. So that strategic rapport is like the most brilliant opportunity to use there, because I'm getting people to talk about themselves. Now, the rejection is just math. It's just a numbers game, right? So it's like how many odds am I giving myself to yes? And I'm really big on every rep should know their number. So if you're using Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever dashboard or CRM that you're using, you should know how many calls it takes you to get to a decision maker. How many calls with a decision maker does it get you to a yes? And if you know that what that number is, you work to improve that number by improving the quality of your conversation. So I loved being SDR. I would say if I took that question and maybe moved to an account executive, um, I was a terrible listener. I was a very terrible listener. It showed up not only in my work life, but also in my relationship life. It was like, yeah, I wasn't listening to nobody. I just thought I was right. And that was it. So one of my managers at the time had me listen to my calls loudly in a room, no headphones, and I cried. I bawled my eyes out. I was like, yo, who? I wouldn't even want to talk to me. And I got addicted to listening to myself, not because I wanted to hear my own voice. That's still the most painful thing in the world to me, but because I wanted to hear how I was actually listening to someone and aligning what they said to me with what I said back. But I had so much words in my head that all I wanted to do was get those words out. Irregardless of what they had just said, I wanted to say my piece, and that made me feel good. And growth came when I said, hey, what you thought you needed to say here, you actually don't need to say here. And then taking action on that.
Well, we love the introspection first and foremost. Like I think everybody, we can all be a little bit better listeners. I think a lot of us listen to respond rather than listen to like really understand. And it sounds like you learned that lesson early on, which kind of helped you progress through this career.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So,
Aizen's asking, how do you stay motivated, especially during slow times in sales? How do I stay motivated? Um, your I don't want to be the cliche one, but like it really is your why. Why are you doing it in the first place? Two motivations for me. I'll talk to my chapter two self, like 2 years in versus now. Before I had my daughter and before like that was a why. I was one of the first people in my family. Like I was the first person in my family to get into tech sales, but I was also the first person in my family to make six figures from tech sales or from a sales career in general. So I'm first generation Jamaican. A lot of, my family grew up on the islands and came here. It was a pride thing for me. I couldn't lose. I couldn't lose, right? I was just known as, oh, that's Kaivona. She's working at Yelp. Oh, she always got these big names. She's always this, always that. And I was like, I can't fail now. I can't lose at this. So, whatever it is for you, whether it's money, whether it's you're a first, whether it's just your reputation, whether it's a challenge of completing something or hitting a certain milestone, like you have to figure out what that is for you and don't lose it. It's very easy to lose it and lose sight of why you're doing it. So stay focused on that.
yeah, well, you got a compliment from Nicole Carr that says really good tips and info. Thank you, and I'm guessing talk to you soon. I'm assuming that's what it means,
Yes,
unless
thanks,
I'm too
Nicole.
old for that. We love to hear that, and yes, you will be talking to y'all soon too. So we have a question from Nicholas Francis. They said, "I have an SDR interview next week. Any advice you can offer to stand out from the competition?"
Yeah, I'm curious, Nicholas, where you're from, like what background you have. Again, if you scan this QR code, you'll get time and I don't know when your interview is, but if you want to do a session before your interview, happy to offer that to you. The code is the questions there. But so yeah, I guess general as opposed to specific to your industry. Make sure that you're asking questions that show that you're capable of doing the job. So asking, what percentage of the team is hitting their quota right now? Do you do the SDRs at this role work with an account executive? If so, is it a round robin? Or am I paired with just one AE? You want to ask questions that show that you understand the motion. Outside of that, if it's your first interview, I don't know if you have a role play coming up. If you do have a role play, you got to make sure that you're able to handle those objections. This strategic rapport training right here is going to get you right for that role play there. So those are some questions. I'm always thinking of questions that position you as a person of knowing versus position you as like, I want to learn, or far removed from the process. So I can give you more tailored answer to that, looking at where you're coming from.
So while we wait for him to give more details, so we have a couple of people. As some of y'all know, if y'all been with the collective, we do give Google certificates for people for free. So we obviously have a couple of people who are in some of our data tracks, and so I'm kind of curious now. What type of data does someone in tech sales deal with, like outside? We know you deal with the numbers, like the number of sales, that's the ultimate number. But are there any other data that y'all analyze that leads y'all to like getting more leads or figuring out what's selling? Like, how do y'all go about analyzing data in your department?
Is it in a sales enablement department, or in
Yes,
what department? Yeah.
sales
So
enablement.
sales Mhm. So sales enablement is aligned to company KPIs, right? So ultimately, everything that we create as far as training material is aligned to the company growth and goals. So if the company is looking to keep it simple math and just say like $10,000 or something like that a month, or we want to close or acquire 10 new customers a month, then we're going to look at where the sales team is right now and find the gaps that have stopped us from hitting those 10 new clients a month. So we might do a training on how to qualify, right? How to improve your qualification. We might have a training on pipeline management. How are you moving things through the funnel? Are things stale and not being touched? What are our touch points look like? So every training that's in sales enablement is always aligned to some growth metric within the KPIs of that company or that org in the stage of the company's growth. Was that an answer to your question?
Oh yeah, that was it was just again like there's different types of data. We hear data and that's so broad, so we're always curious as to, like the deep dives of like what it looks like. Like someone who does project management analyzes data differently than again if you're in sales enablement, tech sales, we're trying to see like what is the alignment there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, data can definitely get down the weeds. For sure. So even in the answer I just gave, if we're talking about pipeline, you can go deeper into that and say what's the average number of accounts that each rep has, right? What territory is that in? What area is that in? What times are they calling, right? So we can go really deep into
Yeah.
that, and I'm a big data geek, so I love looking at that stuff.
We love it. So then I guess another question. So you've been doing this for 15 years. So first up, big ups to you, big Jamaica over here. But 15 years. So like what is it about Texas that you was like, this is my career. Like this is what I really want to do. This is what I really want to make a life for not only myself, but to show my daughter and everybody else who is around me.
Yeah, I didn't plan on tech sales. I share this story often. I went to college. I was a music major at first. I went to school for music and sound recording, was big into theater and drama, and Caribbean parents, right? Like, okay, but where the money at? What we doing out here? So, um, switched over business management, and then really just didn't know what to do after that. Like, okay, I have a business management degree, but I don't know what am I supposed to do. And a college recruiter grabbed me and was like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, well, I'm going to join the military. I'm going to join the Air Force, right? I'm going to go do something. And she was like, oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not joining the military. And she brought me to a career fair, And at the time, they called me Coco K because I'm a chocolate girl. Everyone called me Coco K. That was my little IG handle, since matured. But when I saw the Nestle banner, I went up to Nestle and said, they call me Coco K. So the Coco girls got to work for the chocolate company. I just kind of just had like a little line, and they cracked up. Everybody in the booth was like cracking up, laughing at that. And I had a conversation, and they hired me on the spot. So the whole thing about authenticity and being yourself and showing up as authentically you was that journey. And from there, I just loved it. I loved the psychology of how do I get, in layman's terms, like how do I get someone to do what I want them to do? How do I understand buying behavior and consumer behavior and what makes people change their mind? Like that whole chess of sales, it never gets boring to me. It never gets old. There's no one person that's alike. So every time I have a conversation, it is a new chess game for me. And that's very stimulating for me. And I'm all about growth and even myself. So if I can get a yes from a new person, that it's a little high for me.
And I think what you just shared goes into what you shared earlier in the conversation, which was about storytelling, right? Like having a good storytelling will really like drive your sales up and everything. So curious, like what other tips do you have for people to gather or to really grow their storytelling?
Yeah. If you don't journal, I would start to journal. If you don't have a brag book meaning you're able to write down the accomplishments of your life, not just the huge ones like awards, but you feel proud of, something that you did, like start to create a brag book for yourself. I looked back at mine and I saw that back in 2018, something that I'm doing right now, I said I wanted to do back then. And I didn't even know this dream of mine had been so old. It kind of died, I thought. And I looked back and saw something I wrote, almost 10 years ago, and I'm doing it right now. So, the way that you can recall your story is by reviewing it from the first person in that moment, right? And journals have become very therapeutic and things like that, and it is, but it's also a record of your proof of your existence, proof of your life, proof of your accomplishments, proof of your failures. If you don't have anything to look back at to remind you of who you are and what you're doing and what you accomplish, then did it really happen, right? Like, what do you have to tell that to yourself? So to help yourself story tell, start to write things. Take a moment at the end of the day or at the end of the week, send an email to yourself about the things that you did. It doesn't have to be too small. So that when you do something new or when you're presented with an opportunity to do something new, it might not be as new as you think. You might have an adjacent or tangential story that really can help you pick one aspect of yourself that you needed then to do the thing that you're doing now.
That's very good advice, and I think, like you said, journaling is not just therapeutic. It's like a history book, right? You can review this is how I was at 18, and then look at 25. Like you've seen how you've grown over the years, seeing what you thought then isn't what you think necessarily now, and everything because the landscape is ever changing. I also love that you
Yeah.
had a brag book. So I mean, we only got about 2 minutes left, so this is where I'm gonna give to you. Like, what is your biggest brag? Like, what is the thing that you were like, I did that. That was all me. I did it.
um, Dang, you stumped me, Dom.
Or
Um,
give me three. You can give me three. If you can give me three of them, we won't even do one. Give me three of your biggest brags.
okay. I'll say this. A lot of my career is is me making something out of nothing. A lot of my career is positioning myself to do the thing even though I was petrified of doing it. I just negotiated one of the largest contracts of my career, and I did I did it just, I don't want to say it just happened out of nowhere, but it's like I was petrified to do it and I did it anyway. So my greatest accomplishment, I would say, is not letting fear immobilize me. Like I still do the thing afraid, and the worst that could happen is that you end up staying where you are. And the best that could happen is that you take a step forward. But if you want to get like literal in terms of sales, um, when I was working at Nestle, I grew the route that they had given me. It was in New York, so I was driving tractor trailers from Carteret, New Jersey, into Manhattan. 18 wheelers driving through, selling Haagen-Dazs, DiGiorno, and Wheaties ice cream. And I grew that route to over $2 million, and that was within my first 2 years of sales. Period. That was managing 30 something truck drivers and driving a straight truck, pack ice cream. And I'm really proud of the work that I did at Nestle. So if I'm a all boys club and I'm like the only 5'2" Black female just graduating school calling the shots, that's a proud moment.
I thought you had your CDL. I'm just like, oh, see, black women doing it all. We love it.
That's right. CDL for sure. I do. Class A.
But Kaivona, thank you so much for the session, guys. If you have time, scan this QR code, give her thoughts and feedbacks on the session, but more importantly, connect with her. As you can clearly see, she's really great at storytelling. She's very much a confidence builder. She knows how to talk and speak with confidence, and she can also help you on not only the hard skills but the soft skills. You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to, scope out your vision, your passion. And this session just gave you just a small tidbit into who she is and how she does what she does. I really think y'all should take advantage of that QR code and really take the time to get to know her. Those sessions are filling up fast.
Thanks, Dom. And thanks for having me in the Mentor Me Collective team. I'm really excited to give, everything to the session today.
No, we're really thankful that we had you all, that have not only you, but had everybody in the audience. So give yourself a round of applause. Again, please connect with her with us on LinkedIn with the QR code. And again, we'll see you next week for the next workshop. But thank you, everybody. I hope everyone has a lovely night.